In the heart of the Galactic Council, thousands of alien rulers sat in their golden seats. The hall was filled with voices, laughter, and sharp words. Reports had arrived from the edge of human space. They spoke of Earth's silence. No ships leaving, no diplomats speaking, no messages traveling, but instead of fear, the council laughed. Earth is small, one alien lord said, his scales glowing with pride. They have no fleets worth counting, another laughed, his sharp teeth shining. A weak world, a third declared. Nothing more than a child among giants. Their voices rose in mockery, each louder than the last. They mocked Earth's anger. They mocked Earth's silence. They mocked the very idea that humans could stand against them, but not everyone in the chamber was laughing. Traders who traveled near human borders spoke quietly. Their voices shook as they whispered. Humans are not like us, one trader warned. They do not forgive. They wait. The words spread like shadows through the great hall, but the rulers waved them away. Old stories, they said. Fearful myths, they claimed. Humans are weak. Yet far from the golden halls, something was moving in the dark. Strange signals had begun to travel across deep space. They were faint, broken, almost meaningless, but they repeated again and again, traveling through hidden channels. No one knew what they meant. Were they warnings? Were they codes? Or were they weapons waiting to strike? The Council's spies intercepted some of the signals. They tried to break them, but the codes twisted in ways no alien mind could understand. Some spies said the words were not machine code at all. They sounded like human voices, whispering in patterns too strange to follow. Still, the Council laughed. One alien general stood, his armor shining. If Earth wants war, then let them come. We will erase them in a single day. His words filled the chamber with roars of approval. But under the surface, doubt was spreading. Reports continued to arrive. Merchant ships near human space had gone missing. Fleets that once guarded the border now sent no signals. And on the outer rim, traders spoke of a light, brief, blinding, then gone. No wreckage was found. No survivors. Only silence. Silence that grew heavier with every passing day. Some council members began to whisper among themselves. What if Earth is hiding something? What if their silence is not weakness but preparation? But when these voices rose, they were quickly crushed. Do not speak like cowards, shouted the warlords. No human weapon can touch us, declared the admirals. And yet late at night, when the council chamber was empty and the stars outside shone cold and bright, even the bravest of them felt a small shiver, because the silence did not end. The humans sent no envoys, no apologies, no threats. They simply waited, and that waiting was louder than any weapon. On one forgotten world, a lone scout ship drifted back from human space. Its hull was scarred, its engines half dead. The crew looked broken, their eyes hollow with fear. When asked what they had seen, the captain gave only one answer. It was not war. It was something else. He refused to speak again. His crew refused to leave their quarters. They shook at shadows, whispered to themselves, and prayed for sleep. The council demanded answers. But none came, and still the signal spread. Strange, cold whispers across the void. The galaxy could not understand them. But somewhere, deep in the human heart of space, they made perfect sense, for Earth had not forgotten, for Earth had not forgiven. The council did not know it yet, but the first move had already been made. The silence was not peace. The silence was not fear. The silence was the beginning. The Galactic Council still laughed in their grand halls, but outside those chambers the laughter was fading. Whispers moved through the galaxy like shadows. Traders, smugglers, and spies carried stories from world to world, and all those stories had the same name inside them: Earth. Something was happening in human space. At first, the whispers were small. A merchant claimed his ship's sensors caught a human fleet moving through an asteroid belt, but when he searched again, there was nothing. A smuggler swore she saw strange lights in the void, patterns moving across the stars. She could not explain them, only that they felt alive. The council dismissed these tales as lies, tricks made by men who wanted higher pay, but the whispers grew. A captain from the outer rim claimed he saw human satellites appear in places no ship could reach. They are everywhere, he warned, watching us, listening to us. Still, the council smiled. Still, they called humans weak. But silence had begun to spread. Trade routes near Earth grew empty. Ships that once passed freely now avoided the borders. Colonies close to human space stopped sending messages. Even pirates, fearless and wild, turned their ships away. Something unseen was pushing the galaxy back. The whispers grew darker. Spies who listened to human transmissions returned with pale faces. They said the codes were not like anything else in the galaxy. The words carried weight, as if every sound carried a promise. One spy, trembling, spoke only one line before he vanished into silence. Humans are not preparing for war. They are preparing for justice. That single word, justice, echoed across the council's chambers. It carried no ships, no weapons, no fire, and yet it brought unease. The warlords shouted louder, trying to cover their fear. Justice? A word for the weak. Humans hide because they cannot fight. They wait because they are afraid. But deep inside, they were not so sure. On a cold mining moon, a fleet of the council's warships patrolled near human space. They expected weakness, silence, nothing more. Instead, they found nothing at all. No humans. No ships, no signals. The patrol went deeper. Still, silence. Then, suddenly, all signals from the fleet vanished. One moment, thousands of lives filled the dark with noise. The next, nothing, no call for help, no fight. Only absence. The council tried to hide this truth. But whispers have no chains. The galaxy heard of the vanishing fleet. And the galaxy trembled. What kind of weapon leaves no wreckage? Asked one voice. What kind of enemy kills without a sound? Asked another. No one had the answer. Still, the council told their people to stay calm. They declared humans weak. They promised humans had no power. But their voices grew thinner each time. Meanwhile, the whispers continued. Some said humans had found an ancient power, something buried deep inside their world. Others said humans had learned to command silence itself, turning the void into a weapon, and others still whispered that humans were no longer fighting with machines at all. They fight with something else, a traitor whispered in a dark tavern. Something that comes from inside them. Something the galaxy does not understand. The listeners grew pale. Some walked away. Some stayed, but none laughed. For the first time in many years, the galaxy was afraid. On Earth, silence still ruled. Cities stood tall. Ships stayed docked. The skies above were calm. But beneath that calm, something vast and hidden was moving. The humans were not rushing. They were not panicking. They were waiting. And the galaxy did not understand why. Why wait when fleets stood ready? Why wait when war had already begun? Why wait, unless waiting itself was the sharpest weapon? The council called another great meeting. Their voices rang through the chamber. We are the rulers of the stars. No world can stand against us. No human can harm us. But their voices shook. Their eyes darted. Their laughter was forced, because while they shouted, while they tried to sound strong, the whispers had already taken root in every corner of the galaxy. The whispers said only one thing. Earth does not speak because Earth does not need to. The silence is the answer. The galaxy listened. The galaxy grew afraid, and far away beyond the council's reach, deep in human space, a silent fleet began to move. It did not send signals. It did not show lights. It did not roar or thunder. It simply drifted forward like shadows across the stars. The whispers were right. This was not just war. This was something more. This was the unexpected war, the beginning of the unexpected war. The council could no longer ignore it. One fleet had vanished. 10,000 soldiers. Hundreds of ships. Not a single piece of wreckage returned. The warlord said it was a trick. Humans hide, they told themselves. Humans play games with shadows, but deep inside, even the proudest commanders felt a small chill. Because fleets do not vanish without reason. The council sent another fleet. Larger, stronger. Ships with the best weapons, guided by the sharpest admirals. Bring back their silence, the High Chancellor ordered. Show the galaxy that humans cannot stand against us. The fleet left the docks, engines burning bright. Crowds cheered, banners flew, voices filled the sky with confidence. But when the fleet crossed into human space, the cheering stopped, and the silence returned. No messages. No updates, no signs of life. For days the council waited. They told themselves victory would come, that the humans would be broken, that their fleets would return shining, but victory never came. Instead, a lone ship drifted back across the border. Its engines coughed weakly, its hull cracked and scorched. Inside, the crew was alive but broken. Their faces pale, their eyes hollow. The council gathered them for questioning. "What happened?" the generals demanded, but the captain only whispered one line. "It was not war. It was something else." The crew refused to speak again. Some screamed in their sleep. Some shook at shadows. Some simply closed their eyes and refused to open them again. The council tried to hide this truth. But shadows cannot hide forever. The galaxy heard. The whispers grew louder. 2 fleets gone. Thousands dead. Not a single human body found. And now, the galaxy no longer laughed. Fear began to spread like fire through dry fields. Traders who once mocked Earth now avoided human borders. Colonies near human space packed their belongings, abandoning their homes in the night. Even pirates, bold and reckless, changed course at the first sight of a star map showing Earth. Something was happening, something the galaxy could not name. But the council still clung to their pride. In the great chamber, a warlord shouted, "Humans cannot destroy us. They are weak. We are strong." But his words shook with fear. Another general slammed his fist. "They use tricks. Traps, nothing more." But his eyes betrayed him. The council ordered another investigation. Scouts were sent into the dark, their ships small and fast. They were told not to fight, only to watch. Days passed. Most scouts never returned. The few who did came back whispering madness. They spoke of shadows that moved like ships, lights that burned too bright to look at, voices in the static that sounded almost human but not. One scout spoke of a moment when all his systems died. His ship drifted powerless in the void, and then for one breath he swore he saw it. A massive human vessel, black as the void itself, gliding silently across the stars. No signals, no weapons firing, no sound at all, and yet, he said, the silence felt like a roar. The council refused to believe him. They called him broken, weak, a coward. But in their private rooms, when no one was watching, they whispered his words to themselves again and again. A black ship, silent, endless. Fear grew heavier. Across the galaxy, people began to ask a question no one wanted to answer. What if humans are not fighting a war at all? What if this is something greater? Some called it vengeance. Some called it justice. Some began to whisper that it was not human at all, that Earth had awakened something far older, something the galaxy had never seen. The council tried to push back against the fear. They declared humans weak again and again. They promised their people victory, but promises are not shields. And one night in the grand chamber, silence fell as a single transmission played across the hall. It was short. It was broken, but it carried a human voice. The words were simple. "We do not forgive." The hall grew cold. Every ruler, every warlord, every admiral felt the same chill. Because these were not words of weakness. They were not threats. They were not cries for mercy. They were a promise. The first shock had arrived. 2 fleets gone. The galaxy trembling, and Earth's voice finally heard, but the worst had not yet come. Because silence was only the beginning. The true wrath of Earth had not yet been seen. And when it came, the galaxy would never forget. The Galactic Council was breaking. 2 fleets had vanished. Thousands of soldiers lost. No bodies, no wreckage, only silence. The council chambers, once filled with laughter, now carried unease. Every ruler spoke louder, but their voices no longer held power. They were only hiding fear. Still the warlords shouted, "Humans cannot defeat us." One roared, "They play tricks. Nothing more." Another cried, "They are weak." A third declared, but none of them truly believed their own words anymore. The galaxy was changing. Trade near Earth had collapsed. Colonies abandoned entire systems. Even the proudest pirates whispered prayers before plotting courses, praying their paths would not cross with human silence. The council tried to pretend nothing had changed. They tried to laugh, but the whispers grew stronger. "They wait," traders said. "They do not forget," smugglers whispered. "They do not forgive," the broken scouts warned. And then one night, as the council gathered in the grand chamber, their answer finally came. It was not a fleet. It was not a battle. It was a shadow. A single ship appeared at the very edge of council space. At first it looked like nothing, a drifting black shape, almost invisible against the stars. No lights, no signals, no banners. The council's scanners caught it. The chamber filled with alarm. "What is it?" demanded one ruler. "Is it one of ours?" shouted another. "No, no, it cannot be," whispered an admiral, because the ship was massive, larger than anything the council had built, larger than even the greatest warships of the empires, and yet it drifted silently as if it carried the weight of death itself. The council ordered every fleet to prepare. Weapons powered, defenses locked. Thousands of ships gathered, circling the silent intruder. Still the human vessel did nothing. It did not fire. It did not move. It only waited, but the scanners told another story. Inside that ship was energy beyond measure. Enough to burn fleets, enough to crack worlds, enough to silence an entire galaxy. The council panicked. "Destroy it now," one shouted. "Do not wait for their move," cried another. But others hesitated. "What if we fire and fail?" one ruler whispered. "What if that ship is not alone?" The silence inside the chamber grew heavier than steel. For the first time, they saw themselves clearly. They were not laughing rulers. They were children facing something they could not understand. And then, the ship moved, slow, silent, a shadow sliding through space, every scanner locked onto it. Every weapon pointed forward. The fleets held their breath, but the human ship did not strike. It simply drifted closer. Then, without warning, a voice cut through the silence. It was human, cold, steady. "You have taken much from us. You thought us weak. You thought us silent. But silence is not fear. Silence is preparation." The chamber shook. No one moved. No one spoke. The voice continued. "We warned you. We showed you mercy." Hugh laughed. The council stared at the screens, frozen. "But now you will learn." And then the transmission ended. The ship fell silent again. The fleets around it panicked. Admirals screamed orders. Soldiers locked weapons. Fingers hovered over triggers. But no one fired. No one wanted to be the first to strike the shadow. The silence dragged on, each second heavier than the last. And then, the lights on the council's ships flickered. Systems died. Engines fell quiet. Shields collapsed. The human ship had not fired a single weapon, but it had already broken them. Fleets floated powerless like toys adrift in the dark. The admirals screamed, but no sound carried into the void. Their comms were cut. Their signals silenced. The council realized the truth. This was not a war. This was not even a battle. This was judgment. The human ship glided forward once more, silent and endless, its shadow stretching across the stars. And the council finally understood. Earth had answered, and the answer was not peace, it was wrath. The galaxy had seen many wars. Empires had risen and fallen. Fleets had burned across the stars. But nothing was like this. The silent human ship drifted at the edge of the council's fleets. It had not fired a single shot, yet already thousands of alien soldiers sat powerless inside their ships. Engines cold, shields broken, weapons useless. Fear spread faster than fire. Admirals shouted, their voices sharp with panic. "Restart systems. Bring power back online. Fire everything." But no system obeyed. Their mighty war machines had been reduced to metal shells trapped in the void, and then it began. The human ship lit up, not with fire, not with missiles, but with a single pulse of light. It spread across space like a wave, silent, beautiful, and deadly. One by one, the council's ships ignited. Not explosions, not flames, just sudden bursts of light, as if stars were being born and then dying all in the same second. Entire fleets vanished. Thousands of lives gone in silence. The survivors screamed. Some begged. Some cursed. But none could fight. In the council chambers, rulers watched in horror as their greatest fleets were erased in moments. "This cannot be real," one whispered. "They have found a weapon beyond reason," another said, his voice shaking. "It is not a weapon," a trembling admiral whispered. "It is wrath." The human ship moved again, slow and steady. It did not chase. It did not rush. It simply glided forward, and everywhere its shadow touched, fleets died. A commander broke down in panic. "Send everything. Send all our armies. Stop them before they reach us." But deep inside, they all knew the truth. No number of fleets could stop this, because it was not a war they were fighting. It was something greater. It was judgment. On distant worlds, entire populations watched in silence as human wrath tore across the stars. The broadcasts showed fleets burning, ships turning to dust. admirals screaming before the screens went black. For the first time in living memory, the galaxy was silent. No one cheered. No one laughed. Even children knew. The game had ended. The council tried to open negotiations. Desperate messages were sent. Humans, we offer peace. Stop this. We will grant you land. We will grant you power. But no reply came. The silence remained. And then once more the human voice echoed across the stars. You thought us weak. You thought us broken. You mocked our silence. But silence is not surrender. It is patience. The words carried across every screen, every ship, every world. They were not shouted. They were not angry. They were calm, cold, final. You destroyed our people. You erased our fleets. You laughed at our dead. Now, you will learn what it means to awaken Earth's wrath. And then the voice was gone. The ship moved again. Another pulse spread. Another fleet turned to nothing. The galaxy had no defense. No weapon, no shield. Warlords once proud now begged for mercy. Admirals who once mocked humans now prayed to stars they had never believed in. Entire species trembled in their cities, waiting for the shadow to pass over them. But the shadow did not pass. It stayed, it burned. It destroyed. Still, the humans did not conquer. They did not land on alien worlds. They did not demand slaves or treasures. They only destroyed fleets, because fleets had laughed. Fleets had mocked. Fleets had thought humans weak. Now, fleets were gone. The council chamber grew cold. The rulers sat in silence, their faces pale. For the first time, they did not argue. They did not shout. They only stared at the great screens as their power crumbled. One ruler whispered, "This is not war." Another answered, "This is a lesson." And a third, with shaking hands, finally said what all of them feared most. "This is the end." The human ship slowed. Its lights dimmed. Its shadow grew still. But the galaxy knew better. This was not over. This was only the beginning. For Earth's wrath had been unleashed, and there was no force in the stars strong enough to stop it. The chamber of the Galactic Council stood silent. For centuries, no sound had ever carried such weight inside its walls. Alien rulers who once laughed now sat frozen, staring at the vast projection filling the center of the hall. It was Earth's fleet. The ships were not shining with gold nor decorated with banners of victory. They were dark, sharp, built for one purpose only, war. They did not speak, did not flash signals, did not sing with pride. They simply moved forward in silence, a silence heavier than any threat. One elder from the Valak Empire finally broke the silence. This is impossible. Earth cannot have built this. Not so fast, not so strong. But the projection did not lie. Hundreds of ships moved together, cutting through space like hunters. Some were massive carriers, others small and fast destroyers. But all of them carried the same mark, a single blue circle of Earth, glowing like an unblinking eye. The council leader, a towering reptilian named Chancellor Greth, slammed his clawed hand on the table. They are bluffing. These are shadows, tricks of light. Yet as he spoke, another message came. Not words, not threats, only coordinates. A cold voice followed. "Leave Earth in peace, or we come." The voice was human, calm, steady. It carried no anger, no fear. That frightened the aliens most. The fear spreads across the galaxy. Whispers ran faster than light. Traitors who once mocked humans now spoke in hushed tones. Smugglers refused to travel near Earth space. Even pirate fleets changed their routes. For the first time, the galaxy realized something. Humans did not need to shout. Their silence was louder than war drums. One council member from the insectoid Kryla clicked nervously, her wings trembling. "If we ignore this warning, they will strike. You all feel it too. They are not bluffing. They are waiting," Greth snarled. "They are still weak. We have crushed worlds greater than theirs. We will do it again." But another elder stood. His skin shimmered with age, his voice trembling but strong. "Then answer me this, Chancellor. If they are weak, why do they not beg? Why do they not crawl for mercy? Why do they wait so silently?" No one answered. The first strike days later, the council received reports. Not of battles, not of open war, but of silence. Entire patrol fleets disappeared near the border of human space. No distress calls, no debris left behind, only empty space where once ships had sailed. The alien commanders panicked. What weapon is this? What shadow swallows fleets whole? More fleets went missing. Some vanished near asteroids, others near gas giants, some even within council-controlled zones. Everywhere the same silence. Humans never showed themselves, never explained, until one day. A council dreadnought, the pride of their navy, received a simple signal. No words, only a human phrase translated into alien code. "We see you." Moments later, the dreadnought went dark. Earth's wrath panic filled the council chamber. They had prepared for warships, for armies, for open battle, but they were not prepared for shadows. They were not prepared for humans who fought in silence. Greth shouted, "They strike in the dark because they cannot face us in the open." But deep inside, even he did not believe his own words. The others could see it in his eyes. Fear. Another message arrived. This time it was not a threat. It was a truth. You laughed. You mocked. You forgot. But Earth remembers. The message ended. No further explanation. The chamber shook as if the words themselves carried weight. The final choice. The council argued for hours. Some demanded peace. Others demanded war. But none had courage, because no one truly knew what humans had built. Were those ships real? Were they decoys? Were the vanished fleets destroyed or taken? Questions filled the chamber, but no answers came. Finally, the elder who had spoken before stood once more. "Listen well." The galaxy laughed at them. But now even silence is their weapon. If we continue, we will not just lose fleets. We will lose our empires. For the first time in history, the council voted in fear. They voted to leave Earth alone, to erase their plans of invasion, to retreat from human space. Epilogue. The waiting shadow on the far edge of the galaxy. Earth's fleet drifted in silence. No cheers, no celebration, only waiting. Inside one command ship, a human officer watched the stars. His voice was calm as he gave the final order. "Hold position. They will not test us again. But if they do, we answer." And so Earth waited, quiet, patient, watching. The galaxy had laughed. Now the galaxy would never laugh again, because every star carried the same silent reminder. Earth's wrath had only just begun.